What's up, freight brokers? What's the deal? How do you feel? I hope you're feeling great out there today. I hope your families are well. I have one thing that I want to share with you before we get into the training. We've got a great training lined up for you today, so sit back, relax, sit tight. We're coming up soon. What I want to share with you today is something that's helped me a great deal in my own life, and I thought to myself, you know what? It's helped me so much, I'll share it with my network as well, and maybe, just maybe, you can get something out of it too. So here's what I want to share with you. I believe without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, like I know tomorrow is coming, that you and I, human beings, become whatever it is that we think about. Yes, that's true. Whatever thought you put on your mind, you eventually become that thought. And you know what? It doesn't matter whether it's a good thought or a bad thought, it's going to come to existence. Why is that? Because you have a superpower. You have a super brain inside of this dome. And it has the power to bring whatever it wants to existence. Whatever you put on your mind, you can bring that thought to existence by simply putting it on your mind. That's how it goes. Because what happens is, eventually, if it's on your mind, your actions have to align with your thoughts. And it comes to existence. So it just makes sense. It passes the common sense test that we would be very protective of our thoughts, our mind, what we allow to get into it. We're not going to put the wrong thoughts into it because the wrong things can come to existence. So we want to put the things on our minds that really matter to us because eventually they will come to existence. All right, so we live in the information age. We have information right at our fingertips, and sometimes we can have more than enough information. Matter of fact, too much info sometimes. And what happens is, with all of that information, we start to paint a picture in our minds of what the freight broker business is based off of the information that we get. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's that way. It's your perspective. It's the way you see it based off of your info. But what happens a lot of times is the info that we receive, those are best case scenarios. Those are far-fetched ideas in people's mind that's going to happen when you start your freight broker business. All of this unbelievable success that you're going to have. And a lot of times it's just ideas. It's just concepts or theories. It's not what it really is. What I want to do for you today is I want to expose 5 untruths about the freight broker business. And when I say untruths, I'm talking about untruths for most people. We're not talking about the few people that these things may happen to. And let me be clear on what I mean when I say most people, because you and I know that most people are not going to build a successful freight broker business. So when I say most people, I mean most people that are successful in a freight broker business. The first untruth that I want to expose is that you'll make a lot of money in your first year of the freight broker business. That's probably not going to happen. You don't have any experience. You don't have any customers yet. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows who your business is. You don't have an infrastructure in place. You don't have any systems in place. You don't have an SOP in place. You have nothing in place right now. So to think that you are going to make that type of money without an infrastructure in place, without a support system in place, is naive in thinking, because you're more than likely not going to do that. And when you don't do it, for some reason, we tend to get upset and we're frustrated now because we didn't go out and make $1 million in our first year. Well, you should never have had that thought, because that's not how business works. You don't just go from 0 to $1 million usually in 1 year. That's not going to happen for 99% of small business owners. I personally think if you make $50,000 to $100,000 in your business in the first year, you've done absolutely great. If you make $20,000 in your first year in business, you haven't done bad. You have to compare it to me to what did you make last year? You didn't even have a business last year. Now you have an online business, your freight brokerage is in place, and you made $20,000. That's a lot of money compared to 0. And that's something to build on. So I think it's great if you make $20,000 in your first year. Now, the second untruth that I want to expose is that I know you've been told that you are your own boss. You have charge of your own time. You make your own schedule. I know that sounds good, it briefs well, but it's just not the case. The reality is you are a servant leader as a freight broker. You serve your carriers. You serve your shippers. It's all day long you doing something to please somebody else. It's really an interdependent world. I know a lot of us start our businesses with the idea that we want to be independent, but that's not really how this system is set up. This system is set up so that everyone is dependent on each other. The shipper is dependent on the freight broker. The freight broker is dependent on the carrier. In order for it to work, everybody has to be hitting on all cylinders. And when it's not that way, it doesn't work. Untruth number 3. The only thing that you have to do and be focused on is moving loads and making the money. Yes, that's important. That's critically important to your success. We have to be able to do that in order for us to have any measure of success in this business. But at the same time, that's not nearly all that we have to do. As a matter of fact, many people underestimate the business side of being a freight broker. There's a big responsibility that comes with being a freight broker, and that's being able to manage a business. And I know a lot of people say, oh, okay, I've run a business before. I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but you haven't run a freight broker business before. And the question is not whether you've run a business before. The question to me is, are you able to run a successful business? Because there's a difference between saying I have a business and being a CEO of a successful business. That comes with a lot of responsibility. And most people are not up for that type of challenge. So now the only question that you have to answer is, are you? The fourth untruth that I want to uncover is the idea that somebody else is going to build your business for you. I hear this one all the time. I'm going to come in and manage the business, and I'm going to hire a freight agent, and the freight agent will take care and run the business while I work my job. That's not going to work 99.9% of the time, because that freight agent will not have the same commitment as somebody who owns that business. He's not going to be committed to the business in the way that the owner should be. He's not going to put in the extra time that the owner would put in, because it's not his baby. It's not his business. You can't expect for somebody else to do what you are responsible for doing. You see, the CEO, the person who is the owner of that business, is responsible for installing culture and responsible for installing the way that that business is going to be run. So you can't expect that your freight agent is going to come in and take care of your responsibility now. In most cases, it won't work that way. In most cases, it's a waste of your time and money if that's how you plan to run your business. And the fifth thing that I want to expose that is just not true for most people is that you're going to build two businesses at one time. You see, you have a lot of truck drivers who have some experience but don't have a lot of experience in the truck. And what they say is, I'm going to go ahead and start a freight broker business, and I'm going to build a freight broker business and my trucking business. And what I'll do is I will cut the middleman out, and I'm going to, broker my own loads, basically. I can get that. I understand that. That makes sense that you would want to do that. But it's already enough to try to build one business in the trucking industry. So to come in and now think that I'm going to be able to split time between a trucking business and a freight brokering business, that's going to be a long, long shot right there, in my opinion. I do think it can be done if you have a lot of experience on the trucking side. If you're not in the truck on the trucking side, then maybe it can be done. But if you think you're going to be in the truck and trying to run the freight broker business, again, for 99.9% of people, that will not work. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I think the freight broker business is a great business as long as we have the right expectations, as long as we understand the business for what it is and not what we want it to be. I wish you the very best in your life and business. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. It's my 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It'll give you a chance to come into my office with me, watch over my shoulder as I move loads, talk to shippers, talk to carriers. That way you can get a better understanding of how the business works before you come into it. And then if you want to learn more about how much it costs to start your own freight broker business, I'll leave a free video right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.